Dugout Nation, welcome to the Dugout CEO podcast. Today I am joined by John Madden, the creator and owner of You Pro Baseball, former minor league pitcher, Auburn Tiger, and standout guy that really knows how to encourage, inspire, and equip the next generation for success. John, welcome to the Dugout CEO.
Thanks for having me, Case. Appreciate it.
So a former professional baseball player turned baseball dad and coach, no wonder why you need to be a guest on this show. We're all about that kind of stuff. So thanks again for being here.
Yeah, no problem. Happy to be here. Thanks so much.
So you're kind of like me, but more the opposite way, or I guess maybe not the opposite way. I'm from Florida too. And then I moved from Florida to Indiana, and you moved from Florida to where? New Jersey as a young kid. Is that right?
Oh, actually, New Jersey to Florida. So I'm in Florida now. Yeah, I've been in Florida for a long time, since 1987.
So my goodness, you got like the best of it. I got the worst of it. I was in sunny South Florida. My parents brought me up to the snow tundra of Indiana. So you got to go from Jersey to Florida. So you actually got to move to like baseball heaven. So that's super cool. So but early on being a player in Florida, it sounded like you had this dream and this vision to be a pro baseball player. What did that look like as an early kid? And then how did that kind of all work out?
Yeah, well, just thinking of what you just said before, I actually got to play in Indiana as well, Fort Wayne, Indiana, in pro baseball. So I know what you're talking about. It ain't Florida.
Yeah. Now you got to remind me. So we had the president of the Fort Wayne Tin Caps. Now, were you playing? Was it the Tin Caps or was it the Wizards?
I was a Wizard. So I was in the old stadium. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I played in that stadium as a high school kid as well, and Fort Wayne is like the minor league sports capital of the world. So usually you get some pretty cool attendance and all that kind of stuff. So good to know somebody else that has enjoyed Fort Wayne.
Growing up as a kid, for sure, I always had the dream of playing professional baseball. I don't know why. I wasn't like a huge baseball fan or anything. Just started playing t-ball at a young age, and I always had that dream, that aspiration. And my parents were really encouraging. And my mom said, you're not allowed to. My mom and dad, they both said you're not allowed to quit. But they kept signing me up every year. So I never had a chance to quit. And next thing you know, I'm playing pro ball one day.
Yeah, and it sounded like there was maybe some doubters along your journey. I've heard you mention, hey, you're not going to make it, John, or, be realistic here. Because having those type of goals, I think they're great, but oftentimes only about 1% make it. So what was that like, kind of hearing some of those voices along the way that said, hey, look, I don't know what you're talking about, but this is not going to happen kind of thing?
Yeah. So my immediate family was really great. My mother and father and sisters were awesome. But I remember going on a cruise, and I had a big family, huge family, and some of the older aunts and uncles got together and had all the kids. There was like 30 of us kids, and they had us all write what we wanted to be when we grew up. And I wrote, I wanted to be a professional baseball player or a professional basketball player. Now, I ended up averaging 2 points a game in basketball, so that didn't work out. But I remember some of them saying, why don't you write something more realistic, like, be a firefighter or a cop or something like that. And nothing wrong with that. I probably would have been a firefighter or a cop if I didn't play baseball, but I was so confused because, that was my family. And I was like, what do you mean I'm going to be a professional player? Like it was something that really shocked me and confused me. And it's nothing but love for my family still, but it was definitely something that motivated me to really make sure that happened.
Yeah. And let's talk about that, because you're a senior. You still have these aspirations. You're playing high school ball. You're about to face a first round pick throwing 94 miles an hour. You're out there as well. Tell that story, because I think that was kind of impactful.
Yeah. So there was this guy, Joe Torres, big left-handed guy throwing gas. And anytime we played them, the scouts were out there, all 30 teams out there. He wasn't going to college. He was signing a pro contract. So there were scouts. And my junior year, I pitched against him. I started, he started. And, the scouts are out there gunning him. You see all 30 of them holding the guns up every time he pitches. I go out there the first inning. They all hold the guns up. I throw it in there. Then the next pitch, there was like 5 of them that held the guns up. And then the third pitch, none of them held the guns up. And that was it. I was like, oh, man. So come to find out, I was only throwing like mid to low 80s there, and they just weren't impressed. And that really motivated me too, to where, I went through whatever whatever I could that next year, going into my senior year, to figure out what I need to do to get to the level to where these guys want to at least stick around and see me pitch too. And that ended up happening. That next year, I pitched against him too. The scouts, came up from when I was pitching, kept coming up, kept coming up, kept coming up. And it turns out I hit that magic number. I hit 90 miles an hour. Back then, that was a big deal. Now you got these high school kids throwing that, 94, 95 easy, but it was good. So that was a big accomplishment for me and got me on track to where I wanted to go.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's interesting because, okay, you knew where you wanted to be. You had to hit that magic number. You knew where you were, okay, low 80s. You had to get to 90, but you developed a plan, it sounds like. You had a goal, but then you also developed a plan. Then you took action on that plan. And John, do you see now, I mean, we're going to get into, what you guys do here in a few minutes as a company, but do you see now like a lot of athletes that have that goal or that vision or that thing they want to accomplish, but they lack that plan? Or is it more, there's a lot of good goals and plans out there as well. What does that look like?
Yeah, I think today is a really crazy time because like I just mentioned before, you see a lot of high school guys now, getting into the 90s. It's a more common thing. Back then, you didn't see a lot of guys, breaking that 90 mark or low 90s. And I think there's so much great information out there that a lot of kids, some guys get it and they do it and they are able to progress and get to that level. But some of the guys just get like overwhelmed with all the information out there. Because back when I was playing, there wasn't the internet or anything like that. You had to learn from your dad and your grandpa and the guy down the street and your coaches. It was more of that. So now with the internet, I think guys might just get overwhelmed and try too many things, and then they're all over the place and don't have that the blinders on, the precision to follow that one plan, the right plan, or find what works for them at least.
It's interesting because you're right. Buddy of mine, he told me about his algorithm the other day on, I think it was Instagram. And, he's got a 14-year-old son, just went in as a freshman. And I don't know how, but it picked him up as, hey, he needs to buy baseball training. Well, my buddy played professional. He was a major league player. And he showed it to me. You just scroll through it and it's expert after expert after expert selling something, a new this, a new. It's like the game of baseball hasn't changed that much. It's changed, but it hasn't changed that much. But I think the world, like you said, John, it's like it's selling complexity and it's selling new things and new solutions to problems where if you can keep it simple, I think that's really cool. So how did you, and talk about your story and then your professional career, and then maybe we can venture into with You Go Pro Baseball, like your why behind that. But how did you as a baseball player and athlete first try to keep it simple and then talk about this passion and what led into your business?
Yeah, so I want to say it was probably around that junior year, and I don't remember who brought this idea onto me, but it was finding your routine, like what works for you and then sticking with it. So my whole thing was consistency and discipline. And I busted my butt, at everything I did. I was kind of obsessive, like I was kind of, probably you would think, seeing someone, working that much or doing that much, it would be like, well, this guy's out of his mind, but that's kind of what propelled me to that next level. So I tried many different things, getting there. I tried everything. I tried the long toss. I tried the weighted balls. I tried to run in poles. I tried running sprints. I tried everything under the sun. But what I did over time was I took the little things from the experiments and experiences that I had and took the ones that worked for me and kept those. And then over time, just started building my routine, the things that work for me. So at the end of the day, by the time I got to pro ball, I knew what worked for me. So that's what I was using. I don't know if I answered your question.
Yeah, no, you sure did. And I think it's interesting because, now you're building a business, right? You're a baseball dad, you're building a business, and I'm sure you have your own routines in building your business, but I would probably venture to say maybe the things you learned as a professional athlete or even an amateur athlete, the routine and the habits and all that kind of stuff probably helped you kind of prepare you for what's next after sports. Is that right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think baseball players are good probably good at many things they try because we're good at failing. We can fail a lot and still keep going. Maybe we're dumb, but it seems to work for us. So I don't know.
Yeah, well, I think that word routine I think is cool. And then let's talk about venturing from being a professional baseball player to now being, I guess, a professional in the business world. What kind of, I don't know, sparked your interest of You Go Pro Baseball and made you so passionate about that?
Yeah, so I was figuring out my routine and I knew what worked for me. And through it all, I didn't know if I was going to play professional, but I really wanted that goal. I really wanted that dream, and I was working for it. But I went to JUCO after high school, and then earned a scholarship at Auburn University. After that, played there for 2 years, and finally, my senior year, I had a great year. Was an All-American, All SEC, and I got drafted that year and made it into pro ball. But I still didn't know how long I was going to play for, and I always thought, let me try to help these guys around town when I would go home, because in pro ball you have an off season. You're playing for 7 months or so out of the year, and then you come home. And I said, you know what, and you're poor in the minor leagues, you don't have any money, so let me help these guys. So I started training guys, giving lessons, and that's kind of where it started. That's where the business started, was giving lessons, and from there the kind of business evolved over the years. And even when I was playing, I remember the big thing to me was I got a BlackBerry. I don't know if you remember the BlackBerries.
Oh, yeah.
It was like one of the smartphones. You can get your email on the BlackBerry. It had like a little scroller on the side. You could check your email. And I was like mind blown. Whoa, you could check your email here. And I kind of saw where things were going. YouTube was brand new. And I was like, man, I was still playing. It was my second year in pro ball. I was like, man, imagine I could record some videos and put them on YouTube and start selling the ebook and like helping guys through this new thing, this YouTube and the email and the smartphone. And I was like, man. So I remember going to the Walmart. I was in season, Lake Elsinore Storm. And I went to the Walmart there, bought a camera, and it was like it was 720. It was like high def back then. It's like, it cost my whole paycheck. And I started making videos. And that was the beginning of, kind of that evolution of the business.
Well, I think it's cool because you figured out a way to make your vision, your dream happen. And then you went back and said, all right, how do I empower and encourage others to make it happen? And also, John, I think a lot of the things you teach, it's like, yeah, how to bigger, faster, stronger, hit the ball, but you're teaching discipline and routine and all of these things. And these are things that are going to help athletes far after the time that they're done putting on the uniform, which I think is cool. And, your philosophy here, I was kind of checking it out, and you say this: if you want to be a professional, you have to act like one. That means work out like one, play like one, think like one, be one. What does that mean?
Yeah, I don't know. I had this vision of what a professional was, in my head along the whole time, my whole journey. And, a professional to me is someone who busts his butt every single day, in the gym, on the field, with his work ethic, whatever he's doing, has to have a strong mind. Baseball is so mental. You have to have a strong mind. I see so many guys that were way better pitchers than I ever was, and they would have paralysis by analysis. They'd overthink and they'd shut down. So the mind was super important. So acting like a professional, thinking like a professional, being like a professional, to me that was just like the top tier, like doing everything you could to you make your dream a reality.
Where are we missing the boat right now? Where are we swinging and missing as leaders leading the next generation? Because the people listening to this, they could be a baseball coach, they could be a sports coach, they could be an athletic director, a leader, right? They're leading their families. Like, where do you think we're missing it as leaders right now that we really need to tighten things up?
Man, I just think back in the day, we didn't have travel baseball like we do now. I feel like there's a big disconnection there. I feel like that is not really working for us. Travel ball, these kids are getting, so my son is 7 years old now, and I've got a few guys on our team that are trying out for travel baseball at 7 years old for an 8U, 9U team. And, I try to explain to them that, it might not be the best route. It's tough because I want the best for every kid and every parent, but I just think that's not the route to go. I think that's where the disconnect is getting these kids involved too early in travel ball and not focusing on development. Because I remember back in the day, like it was at Little League, you would have these like guys you looked up to, the mentors, and they were giving their time away for free and trying to help these kids at the Little League level. And there was no travel ball. There were guys didn't play. I played travel ball 1 year, junior year in high school, and that was it. So I think, I don't know. I think, for some people, travel ball may be right, but a lot of people, that's probably not the right way to go.
Yeah. So I was interviewing Elijah Tatel, Pro Velocity Bat, a couple weeks ago.
Yep, I know him.
Younger guy, early 20s. And I kind of said, hey, everybody's blaming your age group, right? For like the demise of society. People aren't committed and people aren't invested and people are always placing the blame. And I'm like, what's going on? He goes, I don't really think it's us. I think it's those that are leading us. And I go, well, what do you mean? He goes, well, now everybody just cares about results. They don't care about the process. And I go, what do you mean? He goes, we live in that age now, John, where everybody's scorecard is visible in front of everybody. Like back in the day, if I was good, the only people that knew I was good were the 9 people on my team and then probably the other teams that I'm playing. Now everybody knows it. And if
Right.
I'm bad, everybody knows it. So is it true that like just the social media aspect is really hurting, I guess, young athletes because it's putting pressure on parents to have their son and daughter being on the websites and showing their stats and their metrics, and they're throwing as hard as anybody else as a 10-year-old? Like, is that the reason that we're moving towards this travel ball year-round kind of sport thing?
Yeah. I think Elijah's a smart kid, man. He's a smart dude. But yeah, absolutely, I agree, and I think that's true. I post videos of my son on my Instagram and YouTube and stuff, and you won't believe some of the hate comments you get for a 6, 7 year old who's up there, trying to learn. And unfortunately, he doesn't know how to read, so he's at now. But I'm sure one day he'll see those comments, and it's terrible, man. But and coming from I played professional baseball, so I think there's a bigger expectation for him to be really good, and he is. He's a great player, but I could see that in the future being a huge deal for him. Like reading some of these comments and seeing what people are saying, that's got to really tear you down. So it's got to be like you said back then. If you had a bad game, you only had it in front of 18 people, 20 people. You can kind of brush that off and learn how to keep going and accept that failure and move on. Now, there's a lot more with social media involved. So I definitely could see that being a huge cause.
So how do we, I guess, enjoy the process? It just feels like, myself included, I have to renew my mind and say, all right, enjoy today. Be thankful for where you are versus where you want to be, kind of thing. How do we as leaders figure out ways to just enjoy where we're at and always not striving for more, better? Because, sometimes that stuff can really, really hurt us.
Yeah. I don't know. It's tough. It's not an easy answer, I don't think. I don't train guys anymore professionally. Like I don't give lessons or anything like that. All I do is my website, and I help with my son's team and the kids he plays with. So, my main focus is him now, basically, him in the business. So, for me, it's just communicating with him, teaching him everything I know, and breaking it down as simple as I can and letting him know that, it's a game of failure, and we just got to, and it's not just about baseball. It's about everything. How do you control yourself at school and how to control your emotions. And it's tough. It's not an easy answer for sure.
Yeah. And he's, what do you say, 7 now?
Just turned 7. Yep.
Just turned 7. So when he's 17, he's about to go off to college, whether he's playing sports or he's not playing sports. What are those things that you're trying to teach him and make sure that he knows and he's ready for when he leaves the house?
Yeah. First and foremost, he's got to be, a good guy. He's got to have respect for people that show him respect, and for his elders and all that. He's got to have empathy. He can't be just a jerk out there. He's got to be able to read the room. I've actually got these bracelets here that they say SMASH on them. SMASH is an acronym. It means being a student of the game. This could be for baseball or for life, but be a student of the game, a master of feel, attacker of fear, a seeker of victory, and the hardest worker in the room. So SMASH. Student of the game, master of feel, attacker of fear, seeker of victory, and hardest worker in the game, or in the room, excuse me. So just...
My good. And if you do that, if you smash life in general, like, holy smokes, it doesn't matter if you're trying to smash a baseball or you're just trying to win. Like, that's it. Smash. That's so good. How on earth did you come up with that?
I was actually in the shower. I know that's weird, but I was in the shower and I was like, I came up with it. I don't know how. It was a few years ago. Yeah. I was just thinking.
Isn't it crazy? Like your best ideas just happen when you're like just there and you have nothing else to do. And I'm just like, I've had guests on too. And I'm like, what's the secret? What's your secret? How are you successful? And they go, sometimes I just get a pen and a pad and I just turn off all the noise and I just listen to myself. And it's like, how often do we do that as leaders of like calming the noise? And I think whether you're a professional athlete or a professional, it's like trying to, remember the movie For Love of the Game, Kevin Costner?
Oh, yeah.
He's on the mound. He's like, eliminate the mechanism. And he just gets rid of all the people just to focus in on what matters, which was the glove.
I got a Billy Chappell jersey.
Billy Chappell jersey. Look at that. Oh my gosh.
Well, I wanted to get Kevin Costner to sign it, but that's hard to do.
You can figure out a way to make that work with your connections and your business and what you've built.
If anybody knows Kevin Costner, hit me up. Let me know.
I'm sure. I'm sure we got some listeners that know Kevin. Dude, that's awesome. So now talk what you're building as a business and why, and then also ultimately what you guys do.
Yeah, so our main business is selling baseball training equipment. So we sell, you can see I got a bunch of gloves back here, line drive pros, towel trainers. This is just a small inventory that I carry here. We sell baseball training equipment to a lot of schools, a lot of universities, pro teams, but mostly moms and dads, young players. So I would say probably moms and dads from 8 to 18-year-olds are probably the biggest customer that we sell to. Also have training program that I built from my experiences, the things that work for me. I may put it into a program. I sell that program as well as a few others. So that's the main part of the business that we do.
So it's not, let's talk about that training program, the things you teach, not the how to throw the ball faster or how to hit the ball farther, like the other stuff. What are some of the other intangible things that an average parent might be like, hey, you know what? Yeah, they need to hit and field and throw, but like, what are the other things that you teach that you think are really important for any athlete developing?
Well, yeah. So I think, like we talked about, consistency is the biggest thing, and that's the biggest thing that lacks. Consistency, finding the right program, the right way to go, and being consistent with that. And then mechanics. And the tough thing about mechanics is everyone has their own opinion. There's many different philosophies, but if you can get that cleaned up and get that working right for you, everything you add on to that, like the stuff you do in the weight room, and the bigger and stronger and faster you get, you're going to be able to get more out of it if you're moving correctly on the mound or swinging the bat or whatever it is.
Cool. What growing up, did you have a favorite tool or baseball thing that you kind of got? And because I remember always growing up, I would go to Baseball Express. I don't even know if that's still a company, but I'm guessing what you have now like trumps that by 100 times. But I always remember always trying to find the gimmick or the thing or all kinds of weird, crazy things. Did you have anything that you kind of used early on?
I remember my dad bought me a ball, and you like tap it, and like it had the mile per hour on it, and you threw it, and then it would tell you the mile per hour. I remember playing with that all the time. And like, I threw 100. It was terrible, but it was fun to have as a kid, you know?
Yeah. I had that one. I had that one too. And then my dog got a hold of it and then it ended up in the lake somehow. And I think, I was always sitting in the 90s as a 13-year-old kid because I don't know how accurate it was.
Yeah.
But isn't that amazing? Just baseball training, sports training, it's just evolved. And I think it's so interesting how these companies now come up with new ideas just to take old things and just make them better.
Yeah. Well, my favorite one is, and one that we sell, and one that a friend of mine, his dad invented it when he was a kid. So he was like, I want to say 12 or 13 at the time, my friend. And his dad invented this machine. It shot mini wiffle balls out of this machine. He invented it in his garage. So the kid, hit it from the time he was 12 all the way through high school, all the way through college. He ends up getting drafted, plays professional baseball, makes it to the major leagues, and the very first pitch he sees in the major leagues, he hits a home run. He's like one of 30 guys in the history of baseball to hit a home run on the first pitch he sees. And his dad created this machine. I sell the machine, and we sell a ton of them. And it's awesome because it shoots these mini wiffle balls, and you hit them with a mini bat. And if you can it's tough, man. It's so tough to hit these things. But if you can get consistent with that, I mean, hitting a bigger ball with a bigger bat becomes a lot easier. Your hand-eye coordination becomes so zoned in that it's amazing.
That's it. I mean, the confidence that would have to give you, because I just remember like my best days. I didn't play nearly at the level you did, but the best games I had were the ones that I walked into the batter's box and I'm like, I'm going to get a hit versus the other ones. How do you build that confidence in people that you're leading? Because it does feel like the more confident people are, not cocky, but confident. Like, how do you go about building confidence?
Yeah. Oh, it's tough, man. It's tough because baseball is a game of failure, and it's usually coached by coaches who are negative and yelling at you for everything you did wrong. So it's tough. It's tough. But I think the consistency that you put in and having those small successes over and over and over again will lead to you having more confidence. But if you're only going to the game and you're struggling and you got a coach that's yelling at you about it and that's all you do, it's hard to build confidence in the game of baseball. So I think having those small successes is really important.
How do we build an island, maybe off the shore of California, right? And just put all those baseball coaches out there that are negative. Just go out there and just hang out for the next few years. Because like I see it. Like I've had coaches. I think I have been that leader before where you are picking out all the things that you need to fix and improve and change that we aren't doing well. But I realized through probably burning people out and having really good people quit on me as a business owner, like that's just not going to get the results.
Yeah.
And I think I had to learn a lot of tough lessons to get there because I realize that people now they respond more to positivity and what gets celebrated or rewarded gets repeated rather than what gets reprimanded. How do we change that culture with leaders where they're not going around and picking everybody apart on you didn't do this or you need to do this for celebrating what's working?
Yeah. Well, you need a big island, first of all.
Yeah.
But, and I've done the same thing. I've been out there yelling at you. What are you doing? You got to get down, get your glove on the ground. I do it all the time still. But it's a constant reminder that you have to tell yourself as a coach or a leader, when something good happens, and I think the good coaches are good at this, when something good happens, you make a big deal out of it. So if they hit that ball, you got to, go crazy. And I think that's probably the biggest thing. It gives them that confidence, that gives them that feeling when they do something good that they're going to get that energy in return. And I think that can kind of feed itself. So I think that's probably the biggest thing is when something good happens, you make sure to make everybody know about it and make a big deal about it.
Yeah, I'm thinking like the other day I helped my wife. I, cleaned up the house that morning and did the dishes. And, I've slacked off a little bit lately, I got to admit. But that day she's like, "Hey, I saw what you did. Thank you so much." And like, then I went on this like 14-day streak where I did it every morning. And I'm like, I don't know why I just did it because I'm like, I don't know. I had that extra motivation that somebody noticed how well I did versus days was like, hey, you get that negative feedback, you negative energy, and I'm not going to do it anymore. So like, you're right. And I got to keep that going as I'm talking about this. I got to keep that mo going
Yeah.
because I think part of leadership, whether you're leading your wife or family or whatever, it's figuring out what you can do to help them. And those are the things that I had to do there. So I think that's real good. And then, gosh, make a big deal about super small things that ultimately over time make a big impact. That's really cool. All right. So people that are learning more about you and your business, who's a good customer for you? Who should go check you guys out and where do they go?
Yeah, so anybody with a baseball player, any age, my son and his teammates, they use some of the stuff that I sell. But anyone, from middle school to high school, college baseball, pro baseball, whatever it is, we got something that could help you. If you have some inefficiencies somewhere, we've got something that could help you. So whatever you need, we got it.
That's it. YouGoProBaseball.com, right?
Yes, sir. Yep.
All right. And get me out of here on this one more time. Smash. What does it mean?
Student of the game, master of feel, attacker of fear, seeker of victory, and H, hardest worker in the room.
Gosh, if we can just smash that, man, we got it. I love it. John, thank you so much. No doubt why you've been both successful on the field, off the field. Thank you for creating solutions for the next generation. And thank you so much for being a guest on the Dugout CEO.
No problem. Thanks for having me. And if you guys watching want to smash bracelet, if you want to go over to my YouTube channel, subscribe and leave a comment and say, hey, I watched the interview here. I'll get in touch with you and send you a smash bracelet.
That's awesome. Thanks so much, John.
Thank you, Case. Appreciate it.
Dugout Nation, what an amazing time with John Madden. Are you ready to smash it? Those are my 3 big takeaways. Smash. Are you a student of the game? Are you a master of feel? Are you an attacker of fear? Are you seeking victory? And are you the hardest worker in the room? What do those things mean to you? Write it down. Smash. Are you a student of the game? Are you learning? Are you developing? Are you creating better habits? Are you a master of feel? Do you understand who you are, what you want, why you play the game, why you work? Do you understand those around you? Are you feeling your environment? Are you attacking fear? What are you scared of? What's holding you back? Are you seeking victory? Do you want to win? Why do you want to win? And what's your plan? And then are you the hardest worker in the room? Are you first in? Are you last out? Are you working hard and smart? What does that look like? Such an amazing time with John. Go out there and smash it.